All right, and welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Anyways, let's get into it. Today, so markets here today, another kind of snooze fest. We did finally get a little bit of action, though, around the 1:30 time frame, 4-hour close. There's always some action around that time. Intraday, and we finally got a little pullback here, but market's been very one-sided for the last 4 sessions, and really for the last 1.5 we've been asleep. So we had an even hit on Friday, up move, little pullback, and then just kind of a float sideways to up. Yesterday, little up move, and then a just absolute anemic market here, and then today same kind of thing, just kind of grinding up. I talked about this on Twitter, and in the short this morning, 5200 to 5205 would likely be about it for the day. And high of the day was 5200, spot 23. And we finally got a little bit of a dip there, and now we're kind of just grinding sideways into the bell. We're going to close likely with, I'm just going to use the SPY because it doesn't have that opening candle mess that the SPX does. There you can see tight doji on the open. We should close with a doji today, and I think that would indicate maybe this market's ready to finally pull back here. Equal buyers to sellers. We did satisfy the 75% fib retrace, and I actually just pierced it by a little bit. For those of you who follow the 786, it's not that different, and that did get hit. If we look at the SPX, that was at right about 5200, and that did get hit. Excuse me, did get hit. So no turnaround Tuesday here. But we got the gap up part. We just didn't get the sell. Lots of volatility selling going on, lots of put selling going on. And again, I wouldn't be surprised to see that pullback tomorrow with the doji close today after the big rally. We're up 200 points just about in 4 sessions, really 4.5 sessions. So we'll see if we get a little bit more of a dip here. There is some resistance up here. So we'll see if bulls start to take profits at this point. There's a few levels I'm watching. The first support's really about 5170 to 75. Usually that first support will fail after a big move because nobody wants to be left holding the bag at the top. And there's, kind of you get a little run for the exit there. But, you got a decent level from yesterday at 5160. And then, the 5150 whole round number, there'll be a point of control there, I'm sure. And then, 5130. These are just intraday levels here. The bigger spot here is right around 5125, and then of course 5100. Those are bigger levels for the market to pull back to. If we slice through those, then we have obviously the gap fill. I'd be watching those. I do think we will get some type of a dip here. Does it turn into more? It certainly could. I don't expect, I do expect us to come down further. I'm still expecting another leg here after this rally, which, it's played out perfectly here. So, it was really telling people that this is high risk reward to go long here. We even bought the dip in the trading room very aggressively both of these times and made some really good money. Probably the best money we've made all year, honestly. But now I think we're getting ready to get that pullback here. Just the question of, does it turn into more? Here's the one thing I'll say that's a concern for bears. I don't like that we filled the gap. A lot of people say, oh no, the gap fills good. You want to fill it, and you don't. You don't want to fill the gap. I don't want to take time to explain it, but just there's plenty of examples. I can just go back to 2022 and look at any time we filled the gap, or really just any time in the last 2 years. Anytime we filled the gap on a down move and see what happened after that, versus when we didn't fill a gap and see if a new low was made. That said, triple Qs here did not. So we're still well above that gap there on the Qs, but we did essentially do the same retrace, right? So it's basically, there's your 75%. Just didn't fill that gap there. So I'd say like a little bit more neutral here as far as my outlook, but I still think there's a good chance of a decline going into maybe not necessarily thinking kind of sideways to lower into next week, and then maybe more of a decline after that. But again, we'll kind of get into that more as we get there. I don't want to make too much out of today. Again, it looks like we're going to finish with a doji. There's about 25 minutes left in the day. There's a little bit of gex up at 5200. I don't think we're not going to close above that. I wouldn't imagine. I mean, it's always possible, but I think they'll try to keep it below there to avoid paying out that premium. But again, quiet market here, not a lot of catalysts. We do have the 10-year auction tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We'll see if that pushes the market around or if we just get a headline at some point. But lots of vol selling going on here. We've got some pre-OPEX flows. Looks like that is in place as well. So sellers got their work cut out for them, but we are into resistance, and we'll see if that backs us off tomorrow. We talked about the SPX levels, so don't need to really worry about it too much. The Russell 2000 finally pulling back. And again, we talked about that macro target here of 206.38, the gap fill. Didn't quite get there. So that's one that didn't fill the gap. But it did, it got close, and we pulled back here intraday. We'll see what it does tomorrow. 205 still a pretty good point of control. The diamond here pulled back again. Doji up 47 cents. That gap got filled. I don't want to make too much out of this stuff. SMH here, bullseye. So we've been talking about 223 for a while. Even despite this dip, it can still get up there. And 223.18. And that's where we got our pullback. Look at that. Went right up there, boop, lower high, and then down to basically the lows of the day now. It could get taken out tomorrow. I mean, right? But that should be the level, right? That should be the level that I've got worked out. So we'll see. And by the way, take a look at NVIDIA. I had a fake print today. This is on TradingView too. I just drew this trend line in there. Look where it fake printed to. So you can't see it on the intraday, but it's on the daily. Let me see if it's on the weekly too. Yeah, it looks like, it's on the weekly too. So we'll see if it ends up going down there. Palantir earnings, which I touched on yesterday, not really, market not acting favorably here, down 14.5%. This is why you got to, everybody was so bullish on Palantir yesterday. I mean, guys, they have earnings after the bell. There's nothing saying it doesn't do exactly what it just did. So don't get too excited before earnings. Went right up into that trend line and backed off. That did help drag NVIDIA down. By the way, Datadog out this morning too, down 12%. That pulled down the IGV, although you had CRM having a decent day, and I think, let me see, Oracle. Oracle was down. Adobe up. Yeah, so Adobe was up. So kind of offset. Datadog's not a really big company, but, it did drag the IGV down earlier. But anyway, inside day here, still inside of this bear flag here on the IGV, so beware of that. Down transport's holding up okay. Again, Doji, we finally made a higher high on the transport, still below the 200 MA though. So I still don't like this chart really, but it did get a bid. All right, interest rates here, 2-year yield still flat. And again, I keep hearing all these clowns talk about how the market's expecting rate cuts. I just gotta ask them why the yield curve is over the last 3 days inverting further then, right? If the market is expecting rate cuts and that's the reason for this rally, someone please explain to me why the yield curve's going down. Oh, but Aaron, the 10-year yield's going down. 10-year yield has nothing to do with the Fed funds rate. It's a 2. All right, so, and the curve is going the wrong way. That just makes no sense. So forget your narrative. Just use the charts, the flows, the levels. So anyway, rates getting a little bit of a bounce here. Sorry about the sermon, but I just can't stand that stuff. Sorry about the sermon. The rates here getting a little bit of a bounce here. They were down on the day. 30-year is actually looking pretty strong, the bond that is. I think it wants to go to this trend line here. So if we flip back over and, it doesn't mean it has to go there tomorrow. But, looking at the TLT, it pulled back in off the day. By the end of the day, you got resistance right here, right? That's where you broke down. You got the 50 right there too. I follow the ZB quite a bit. Kind of got into that, right? Kind of got in there today, really. So on the futures, we kind of hit it already. So maybe it pulls back a little bit now, but then your next area would be like right there, right? And that would kind of line up with that level on the yield. So there's that. So maybe a pullback here and then one more leg up. Maybe the pullback here gets the market spooked, and that's how we get a pullback in stocks, right? Just throwing that out there. XHB, again, that trend line, right off of that. And XHB has been notably, this has been a market leader for the longest time, but ever since the top, it's been a little bit of a laggard. So not above Friday's high still, and still inside of that, and still inside of this range here. So XHB a little bit on the weaker side. VNQ still below Friday's range. It is up and looks like they're trying to finally close it above the 200 again. That's just a psychological level at this point, though. Still resistance up here. XLF holding up. So again, we talked about the possible zigzag here. We'll see if it continues higher. Little doji there might signal it's ready to pull back. KRE is flat today. I pulled in off the highs in the KBE, up 3 cents. KBE is actually really starting to get strong, though. You know, and here's, again, I talked about this plenty of times, but this is the biggest positive for bulls here, is that the banks are still fine. Like, and this is, you know, the large bank ETF, but it's not like JP Morgan. It's like SunTrust and some of these other large banks. So if they're in decent shape, that's not a bad thing. This pattern is fine. It's going to take quite a bit to break that, I think. Could that happen? Absolutely. But right now, this pattern's in decent shape. Broker dealers pulling back here. Little tail candle. Let's not make too much out of that yet. It is overbought, though. Oil is flat on the futures. I think it's down like a little bit on the COMEX. No big deal. Oil should bounce here. I'm bullish. So I've got several buy signals on this, and it should get up to, no, I'm not necessarily not going 95 or anything, but we should at least get up to 80, 81, 82. So I think oil is in really good shape here for a bounce. XLE up 5 cents. Don't want to make much out of that. Same thing with XOP. I think these all have to go lower, but they're getting a bid right now. CCJ, new 52-week high, new multi-year high, but not a well, it is technically a closing high, but not above the pivot high, rather. But again, weekly is acting well. I wish it would do a little bit more, but it's fine. URNM, same thing, same kind of deal, pulling back. There is some resistance up here, right? And it's not through that yet. And there's the NJ, down a penny, nothing terrible for that. Nat gas up a penny as well. It kind of just, it's holding up, right? So we had the falling wedge breakout. We confirmed it yesterday. And it's holding above the 50 MA on the M contract. I like what you did. Back check, and then it's holding up. So consolidation here would be bullish, probably to 240. So nat gas firming up finally. Again, it's a summer rally thing, so it's about time for that to do that. Dollar index green. Looks like we're about to be above Friday's high, so that's positive. And again, the weekly here, it's not broken. There's nothing wrong here. Even with that outside move, I know everybody's going to freak out. Oh, the daily chart. If you don't use all time frames, you're doing yourself a disservice. Let's just look at the yen too. So again, bouncing off 152, that should have been expected. Gold here backing off a little bit. It's not the worst pattern. It's just consolidation. I'd prefer to get it a little bit cheaper. GDX still looks really strong, as does GDXJ. No problems there. And then silver pulling back off of after that big bid yesterday. I'm not opposed to, or I'm not convinced this can't make one more little low though. But I did, you know, it is holding up well. And again, like the GDX, the SIO is up today with silver down. Bullish sign. Platinum getting another bid here, up 2.5. That just needs higher highs. It needs to get those going. It's got higher lows. Then palladium still struggling with 1,000. Back above there puts that in a little bit better technical position. Copper here again stalling out at 460. Inside day red. Nothing terrible here. It's overdue for backing and filling on the bigger time frames. Bitcoin slightly down about 36 points. Nothing terrible. This could set up a zigzag, right? So again, like I said yesterday, it could just do that. There's nothing to say it can't. But we'll see. It could also do that. I would be interested in it down there for sure if we got there. Another thing too is, I'm sure you guys have noticed this as well, but Bitcoin sometimes leads the stock market. We had a pretty good reversal yesterday after having a bid, and then we came in and out today kind of flat. I'm wondering if maybe a similar setup here happens to the spiders. So we had like the up day yesterday. Today we pushed up and then came back in. Maybe we come back down tomorrow. You guys know I expect that anyway. So there's something else to put out there, but Bitcoin holding up. Nothing else has changed on that. Okay, so again, I'm going to keep it kind of short again today. Let's not make too much out of this price action. Doji here, I think probabilities favor a pullback. I would have preferred, though, here's a big positive for bulls. Banks are up, and I would prefer that gap to have not filled. Um, the Qs didn't fill, but it had a lot farther to go. Either way, I still think that we can get a little bit. I mean, look at how stretched we are, on the hourly. So big move here. We'll see if it results in more tomorrow. But again, take it one day at a time here, and 5,200 is still resistance until proven otherwise. So we'll go from there. So anyways, guys, gonna wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll see you guys all tomorrow.